Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and this is another video on the ketogenic diet. And today I'm going to be talking about Vince Gironda, who's a famous golden era bodybuilding trainer and bodybuilder, and the link between his work, which is often considered genius work, and basically how he not only predicted the ketogenic diet, but started it, basically. So one of the things I've always wanted to do with my channel here is combine the fitness and bodybuilding side of, YouTube and the fitness scene, and combine it with the keto dieting, because oftentimes you'll see one or the other and you typically won't see both. And another thing I like to throw into the mix there is the golden era training. And that's something I've been very fascinated with, particularly with the work of Vince Gironda. So Vince Gironda was a genius, pretty much, and in case you don't know who he was, he trained a lot of the golden era bodybuilders. So that includes Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's literally the first place they brought him when he came to America. Larry Scott, who's another Mr. Olympia, and he even trained Carl Weathers, so Apollo Creed from Rocky. And basically the whole joke about the Rocky movies is that the reason why he cracks so many eggs in the morning and pounds them back before he goes out training is because of Vince Gironda. So Vince Gironda is famous for many reasons, but one of his diet claims, which was very strange, but also gave him some fame, was the steak and eggs diet. So this was essentially one of Vince's cutting diets. And Vince's, to contrast this with his bulking diet, which was basically 36 eggs a day. So, you can kind of imagine that he was a bit of a eccentric guy. So with Vince's cutting diet of the steak and eggs diet, basically, even though Vince was not operating solely on the macronutrients, because that's a very modern and 2010 era idea and perspective, basically, is by looking at the macros. For the steak and eggs diet, Vince basically said, eat as much steak and eggs that you want all day. And that was the whole diet. And so as a result, the macronutrient makeup was predominantly fat and protein. However, when it comes to comparing that to nowadays keto diets, yeah, they would have a bit of calorie restriction, but they often don't restrict calories because they just say eat whatever you want quantities of certain foods. And that's exactly what Vince Gironda predicted for, well, that's exactly what he recommended and prescribed for his actual cutting diet for his bodybuilders. And just so you know, Vince Gironda was very strict, and if you didn't follow his dieting rules, he'd basically kick you out of his gym. Like, even if he caught you squatting the way he didn't like, which was back squatting, he'd kick you out of his gym. And there's a couple other exercises and I guess nutritional approaches that Vince basically wouldn't have anything of. And in general, carbohydrates was a big part of the golden era dieting scheme, and I've mentioned this in my other video called All Golden Era Bodybuilders Were Ketogenic. Most of them were, but a large amount of them were due to Vince Gironda's influence. And this is because the perception of carbohydrates during the golden era and the silver era and basically from the 1950s to the 2000s was that carbohydrates were the source of fat. That's basically how they viewed it. It was the source of excess body fat. And in one way they were kind of correct because of the role of insulin with carbohydrates, and also because of the water retention as a result of carbohydrate consumption. But overall, you don't want to demonize any one thing on any diet. However, they were correct overall to say that carbohydrates are a lot more likely to cause fat gain than fats or proteins, as hard as that may be for you to believe or wrap your head around. But in general, even though these guys were kind of just demonizing one thing, that was the trend. That was the the time. And nowadays we have basically the trend is calories. And the reason I'm bringing up all these golden era topics is so that you can wrap your head around basically the trends are just changing, and you need to pick apart the elements of those trends that work. And keto is not a fad diet as much as people will tell you it is. And overall, if there's anything that you should learn from this video about Vince Gironda and keto diets, it's that this is something that has been fueling the golden era bodybuilders. This has been fueling some of probably your favorite bodybuilders if you follow bodybuilding. I am personally a huge fan of the training techniques and the philosophies of golden era bodybuilding. And for me, they truly came from a position that was before the whole fitness thing was very oversaturated. So it was a lot more pure, I guess. But that's just me getting a little too deep. Either way, if you want to apply this to your life, you should greatly consider, even the steak and eggs diet, but in general, a ketogenic diet. Because to me, the ketogenic diet can be any kind of, there's a million ways to do it, but there's a lot better ways to tailor the steak and eggs diet, for example. Or if you're somebody who likes to be a traditionalist and you want to do the steak and eggs diet, you can basically modify it so that it's slightly better. There's more electrolytes so that you're managing your stimulant intake, you're managing your total calorie intake, you're managing your ratios of macros. There's a lot of new modern developments that you should apply to a fat loss diet, especially if it's a ketogenic diet. So overall, and also the incorporation of fasting is great too with all that, but overall, if you want to learn how to do that, consult some of my other videos, consult me directly on Instagram or in the comments, and I'll get back to you. And hopefully when I'm a little less tired, I'll respond to you. Either way, thank you for watching this video. I'm sure you guys would like to hear a lot more about the golden era bodybuilding link with ketogenic diets, and I'm absolutely going to deliver on that. So thank you for watching. My name is Anthony Romano. Peace.